partying, illicit relationships, that's where Shaitan's at work. Let me tell you, Shaitan's at work from the top to the bottom. Like, some people start thinking, well, if I become a good person, I start praying and stuff, or I start learning Islam and talking to people about Islam, then Shaitan will leave me alone because I'm good now. No, the worst attacks of Shaitan are mentioned in the Qur'an for people who are trying to go on the straight path. The people who are headed down the wrong path are on basically cruise control from Shaitan. He says, down with it, you have your fun. You're already on cruise control heading towards, hellfire, so I'm going to work on these guys over here and help them make a U-turn. You understand? And then a U turns around and then Shaitan comes back at you once again. How much time I got left? One of the ways in which Shaitan got our parents. If you really want to understand Shaitan properly, you need to see where his career began. His career began with messing with our parents, Adam and Hawa, salamun alayhima. And if you really want to understand that, you have to study Surah Al-A'raf. The 7th surah, Surah Al-A'raf, Allah mentions what He did and His strategy in detail. He accounts step by step how He worked His way to get our parents out of Jannah, and therefore by extension how He's working to keep us out of Jannah. Once He got them out, He wants to keep us out. Like every one of those steps is a discussion by itself. But I will mention just one of those steps to you. And that one step is فَدَلَّهُمَا بِغُرُورٍ. Dalla in Arabic is a verb. Tadliya, as an infinitive, the verb is actually used when you have a bucket and you have a rope attached to the bucket and you pull the bucket slowly. Little by little by little by little. If you pull it immediately, it's adla. Adla. If you pull it slowly, then it's dalla. But when Shaitan is described figuratively as he took Adam and Hawa salamun alayhima, and he yanked them out like a bucket is pulled up out of a well using deception. But Allah uses the word dalla, meaning he took his sweet time. In other words, he didn't just go there and say, hey, that fruit? Oh. Just do it. Just do it, come on. And that was it. And then our parents were like, okay, that's a good idea. Like, no. He did waswasa. He came to them. He came to that first time they caught it, then he came again, then he came again, then he came again, then he came at night, then he came in the morning. They say, hey, you hungry? You hungry? Hey, I know there's one tree. I imagine Jannah has countless trees. Countless trees. Jannah is way bigger than this earth. Allah says, its size is the skies of the earth combined. Of all the trees in the entire universe of Jannah, there is one that is haram, and Shaitan had to first of all GPS them back to that one tree. Little by little, no, take this turn, why don't you go over here? And go over here, and go over here. And they're going, and they think this has nothing to do with what? A larger plan. They don't see it, that this is part of a larger plan. And Allah is teaching us that's exactly what Shaitan does. So what does he do with you? He tempts you into doing something. And when you do it, at first, it's not haram. It's not totally haram. At least I'm not doing, and then you can fill in the blank with your creativity. Because when kids get caught, they say, at least I didn't, and then they, right? But he only wanted to get you to the first milestone. Because from there, he will work on you for a month or two to get you to the second milestone. And then to the third milestone. And then to the fourth milestone. Eventually, you will be doing the very thing you said early on, at least I'm not doing. You'll be doing that. He'll work on you slowly. He'll work on a guy and a girl to develop an illegitimate relationship slowly. First, they'll just see each other in the bazaar, at the Islamic bookstall. Oh, you like that tafsir too? I love that tafsir. Yep. I love the Kathir. Yeah, it's amazing. Oh, you love that surah too? Oh, okay. Oh, it's the last copy. I'll let you buy it. It's okay, please. It's innocent. It's nothing. It's okay. Alhamdulillah. He said, Salaamu Alaikum. He said, Alaikum Salam. He did. It was all innocent at first. And then it takes a little bit. Hey, do you know Abdul Karim? Well, yes, I do know Abdul Karim. Oh, okay, I know him too. And somebody comes and says, hey, you can't say, do you know Abdul Karim? Oh, is it haram? I can't even ask who Abdul Karim is. Is it haram to talk to a brother at all? No, I can't tell you that it's haram. But you know what Shaitan's doing? Just a little. So are you on Facebook? Well, of course I am. Actually, I already looked you up. One justification, then another justification. That's just a dinner. It's with the whole MSA. Yeah, I know. How do you know that? One thing to another, and then I get the phone call. Brother Nouman, you have a couple of minutes, I want to talk to you. What's her name, bro? Well, the Shaytan, you got it. Now I really want to marry her, but I'm 14 years old. Anyway, I mentioned this to you because one of the earliest attacks of Shaytan, this is when he was beginning his career. He wanted our parents to eat from the tree, you remember? How much time you got left? He wanted us to eat from our parents to eat from the tree, you recall this? Allah mentions with lam al-ta'leem, it's called lam al-ta'leem. Lam al-ta'leem means the reason why He wanted us to eat from the tree. The lam will explain why. He says, لِيُبْدِيَ لَهُمَا مَا وُرِيَ عَنْهُمَا مِنْ سَوْآتِهِمَا. He wanted them to go to the tree and eat from the tree so that He could expose to each of them what was covered of their ugliness. He wanted them to lose their clothes. He wanted them to be provocative in front of each other. This is what He wanted. This was His way of humiliating, because Adam alayhi salam was honored, and what better way to humiliate someone than to remove their clothes? And He wanted that for both our mother and our father. What is happening in the world of design? What is happening in the world of entertainment? How are you justifying yourself watching television shows that have, the following has sexual content? You're like, oh, it's just some sexual content. It's just some. I can forward it. I can skip that part. I just see the first second of it. Then I'll say astaghfirullah. Then I'll watch it again when nobody else is there. It's disgusting, but this is what Shaytan has done. And he knew that human beings will lose their dignity if they lose their clothes. And now we are living in times where losing the clothing is celebrated. And one of the great attacks of Shaytan is to destroy your attention span. He's a constant distractor. And one of the attacks of Shaytan is called an-nazgh. An-nazgh in Arabic, which is actually agitation. And it shares root letters, two of them with naza'. Naza' actually means to pull something. Naza'at, to pull, and nazagha, to poke at someone or to pull someone to agitate them. Right? So he's constantly agitating you to think about something else. When you're thinking about something else, he wants you to think about something else. And from nazagh, we learn something else. We learn from the word nazagh, the attack of Shaytan, that is, he wants you to get involved in too many things at the same time, so that you end up accomplishing what? Nothing. So you can't actually, it's very difficult. A lot of people come nowadays and they say that I don't know how to focus. I just don't know how to do it. When I sit and study, I start thinking about my phone, or I start thinking about a text message. When I look at a text message, an update comes on my Facebook page, so I should start looking at that. Then somebody sends me a link to a video, so I start watching that. Then there's a link, this related video, so I start watching those. Speaking of videos, I realize I haven't watched the 3rd episode of that season, so I start watching that. And then time's up and the exam's starting. And so, I can't pay attention to one thing. So obviously, one of the visible devices of Shaytan has become our mobile devices. On this note, before I go to the next ayah, Allah Azza wa Jalla describes a very powerful phenomenon in the Qur'an, a very deep statement in the Qur'an. Allah says, وَزَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ أَعْمَالَهُم. Shaytan beautified their actions to them. Shaytan beautified their actions to them. People mostly understand this ayah in one way. They understand this ayah to mean there are things that are haram, like alcohol or partying or drugs or whatever, and Shaytan beautified the haram for them. They beautified, whether it's they're committing zina or they're lying or stealing or whatever they're doing, disrespecting elders, whatever they're doing, Shaytan beautified it for them. But this ayah means something else also. This ayah also means when you're doing the work of deen, but you're doing it for the wrong reasons. When you're doing the work of what? What did I say? Of deen, of Islam. You're doing da'wah. You're praying. You're doing good stuff. But you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Shaytan beautifies that too. Shaytan beautifies good deeds too. Because he doesn't care about the deed. What does he care about? That your heart should be corrupt. Once your heart is corrupt, you could outwardly be doing good things, but he knows it will mean nothing. So he'll beautify to you, and you'll be delusional into thinking you're accomplishing great things. وَهُمْ يَحْسَبُونَ أَنَّهُمْ يُحْسِنُونَ صُنْعًا. They will assume that they've accomplished incredible things. On the outside, everybody will think, this guy's an amazing da'i, mashallah. They're doing so much work. They've accomplished so much, but you've accomplished nothing, because in the heart it was just the extension of one's pride. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَلَا تَسْتَوِي الْحَسَنَةُ وَلَا السَّيِّئَةُ. First of all, remember the good and the evil are not the same. Good and evil are not the same. Well, what in the world does that mean, good and evil are not the same? Why even begin like that? That is teaching the Rasul of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and all of us by extension, that not only are you to speak in a good way, not only is your message good, but the way in which you deliver it is part of goodness. So somebody could be saying a terrible thing, but they have a nice way of saying it. And somebody could be saying wonderful things, but they have a terrible way of saying it. Not only is our message supposed to be good, the way in which we deliver that message is supposed to be good as well. Because if you put any element of bad in your message or in the way you deliver it, it'll turn into something bad. Son, it's salat time. You want to go pray together? Oh, come on, I'll get you some ice cream afterwards. It's a nice way to pray, nice way to ask. Then there's you, Shaytan. You never make salat. Better see you make people do right now. Just go pray. Why use holy browser? How come you never pray? You're such a waste of space. I told your mother you're like her family. Let me give you a psychological example of that. You're about to get really angry with your younger brother. And your dad walks in. Why you? It happens or no? You recognize your father's presence and you realize, oh, wait, no. What were you saying? No, nothing. Do you understand? When you recognize the authority's presence, something in you changes immediately. You are about to be angry, but you're like, I know I get in trouble if I say anything now. Allah reminds you of Himself at the right moment. So one particular attack of Shaitan that has to do with dealing with people. It has to do with dealing with people. There are two places in the Qur'an Allah uses the words. First He says, وَإِمَّا يَنْزَغَنَّكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ نَزْغٌ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ إِنَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Surah Al-A'raf. He says, if and when at all this happens, and by the way, the ma imma yanzaghannaka, the ma suggests this is a very it's not a common situation. It's a very unusual situation if this might happen. And if it does happen, the Shaitan is constantly agitating you with one of his agitating attacks. يَنْزَغَنَّكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ نَزْغٌ. And it's not even a small attack, it's a pretty major attack. So we'll understand that attack in a little bit as I contextualize it, right? He says, فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ, then seek the refuge of Allah. Meaning, how does a Muslim seek refuge of Allah? أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. One place, Surah Al-A'raf. Allah Azza wa Jalla is telling His Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, خُذِ الْعَفُوِ خُذِ الْعَفُوِ. Interesting language. He says, grab onto forgiveness. Grab onto pardon. Like pardon is a kind of slippery chicken that you're trying to grab and it's running away. You could have just said, Urfu, forgive. He didn't say forgive, he said grab onto pardon. There's a difference in language. Why say grab onto pardon? Because if you say Urfu, forgive, and he forgives. But holding on to something suggests that it's slippery and it gets away. It's slippery and it gets away. And it also suggests that you don't have it, you have to go and what? You have to get it. You have to get it. So for example, if somebody tells you, good, eat, eat, that actually even suggests that there's a plate in front of you. But if somebody says, خُذِ الطَّعَامَ or خُذِ الْأَكْلِ, grab the food. Go grab the food. What does that mean? That means you don't have it, you have to go and what? Get it. You have to go and get it. And that suggests that this is going to require an effort. Even the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is being told there will be times when you're speaking to someone and they are going to be so obnoxious and they're going to be so ridiculous and they're going to be so offensive and their entire mission in life is to get under your skin so you lose your temper. So they will say terrible things about you and your prophet and your book and your God. They will say all kinds of things to just try to agitate you because that's what they want. And guess what they're doing that on behalf of? They don't even know. وَإِمَّا يَنْزَغَنَّكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ نَزْغٌ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ. This agitation is coming. This guy is speaking, is spewing. Some of you have like a da'wah booth on your campus and some guy comes and starts spitting out all kinds of stuff about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you're sitting there, you're like 18 years old. Yeah? Kafir? I'll show you, it begins, What did Allah tell His Messenger? I said, خُذِ الْعَفُوِ خُذِ الْعَفُوِ. This is in the context of da'wah. First of all, hold on to forgiveness. How are we going to ever respond? But anyway, this guy's throwing tangents at you. What does the ayah say? The ayah says, وَأْمُرْ بِالْعُرْفِ. Command to al-urf. It's not even al-ma'ruf, it's al-urf. And al-urf is actually more, it's less demanding than the word ma'ruf. Ma'ruf means that which is known, everybody knows about it. But al-urf is actually even more, what you can call a social norm. Call to the norm, call to the common ground. Look, I don't know what you're talking about, but let's talk about the right of the neighbor. Let's talk about decency. Let's talk about this God who created everything. The norm. Everybody knows about that stuff. Bring it back to the common elements. Don't complicate a conversation. You see, people who try to get under your skin, they love complicating conversations. And if you notice one thing about prophetic speech, it's always direct, to the point, and most important of all, it's simple. It's straightforward. It cuts to the point. It doesn't allow tangents. وَأْمُرْ بِالْعُرْفِ. Then the Prophet is told, وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ. Ignore, deliberately ignore people who can't control their emotions. Guy comes up to you, he's got jahal. Jahal means ضد عقل. Aql means you can control your emotions. Jahal means you can't control your emotions. Urdu speakers have some idea what jahil means, but jahil aadmi isko tameez nahi hai baat karne ki, etc. When you say that, right, that's kind of correct. Jahil means a guy who can't hold himself. He starts, using foul language, starts getting loud, starts getting obnoxious, maybe even starts getting physical, his face starts changing colors and all this stuff. That guy, you need to do what with that guy? أعرض عنه, يعني أعرض عن الجاهلين. Get away from those people. Ignore them. This is not our time to talk to them. If they're going to turn into a gorilla, no point speaking to a gorilla. It's just as productive as speaking to an actual gorilla. You're not going to get anywhere. When people lose it, they get even more offensive, right? And when you're walking away, what are you, chicken? Huh? Can't handle my questions, huh? I thought so. All you Muslims, huh? Take your Quran with you, etc., etc. And then as you're walking away, what happens? What'd you say about that? And you turn, now I'm going to put the smack down on you, boy. I'm going to teach you, so I'm going to use I've prepared all the arguments to make you feel so stupid, and I'll put you in your place. And that's when this ayah comes up. وَإِمَّا يَنْزَغَنَّكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ نَزْغٌ. And even when the shaitan starts agitating you, the ayah is to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, even if, you might even have the possibility, and the ma was used because it wouldn't happen with Rasulullah. The ma protects the Rasulullah from the waswasa of shaitan. Because he made a shaitan Muslim. That's why the ma is important. But by extension, all of us are covered. How are we covered? As you're walking away from the ignorant, does he get more aggressive or less aggressive? He gets more aggressive, which pokes at your ego. So Allah says to the messenger, listen, if that happens, then shaitan will come to you, because shaitan likes to excite the ego. And at that point, just seek Allah's refuge. That's shaitan. That's the urge to want to go back and take him on, and take him down, and watch him be humiliated in public. That urge was not from Islam. That was from shaitan.